With that in mind, I was reading an article the other day that said if you read the Bible on your iPhone, you are a geek Orthodox. So, I guess I'm a geek, huh? Okay, so what this class was really learning today, and what they wanted to talk about a little bit, was about the table of oblations, which is kind of that side table inside that we really can't see from your perspective. Many times, if you're sitting on this side, you have a good view over here. Everybody else, it's smoke and mirrors. You don't understand what's happening over there in the early part of the church service. The vestry, which is really the back area of the altar, and now we're not going to do a walk-through tour of anything. The exapteriga, which is the fans, the book of gospel, and the sacred vessels and the veils of the church. So, John, because I know he's holding this. Hey, John. Okay, so you see these things come out for the great entrance many times. Now, what this is in the liturgy when we say holy, 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 Ios, Theos, this is what this says on here. It says, holy, holy, holy are you, Lord of the Sabbath. And it has the cherubim or the seraphims inside. We see that up in the dome in the back where they're around Christ. Now it's said, and we know from theologically that as we say in the service that right before the kneeling, that it says that that God is surrounded, Christ is surrounded by the archangels, thrones, dominions, principalities, authorities, powers, all the orders of the angels are around him. Now, what is the point of these things? Well, these are carried out for the entrance, but in the early days of the church, when the priest was consecrating the gifts, you can probably slide off to the side if you want. When the priest was consecrating the gifts, the people on the altar used to do this. They used to hold them and wave them to symbolize the cherubim that are around the altar of God, and they would sit and do this. Now, that kind of fell into disuse, but for the liturgy of St. Iacovos, which our Metropolitan used to do for many years, is a completely different liturgy from what we would see and understand. They used to, during the service, used to do this. And because that liturgy, the prayers were so long, you'd be doing this for about 20 minutes, like this up and down. So you really had to have somebody who was ripped, who was working the fan. Now these are called fans because they look like a fan, but they were almost used as a fan. But really, what it symbolizes is the cherubim and the seraphim around the altar of Christ being there, and that's why they're brought around to remind us of that, and they're depicted here on both sides. This is kind of a equal side item in the church where there's no differentiation in sides. John, you want to send out Lucas to bring the cross out. But many times, John, you didn't have to leave though. You stay here. Stay here with that a second. So in the church, there's some things that have two sides, some things that have one side. The gospel that's on the altar table, just so you know, has two sides to it. There's the resurrection side, which has an icon of the resurrection, which is that. Okay? And then on this side is the icon of the crucifixion, which is that one over there. During the weekdays, any weekday liturgy, whenever the priest comes out for the entrance, like if I were to come out here, and say it's Monday through Saturday, it's always this side, the crucifixion side. On Sundays, it's always this side. There is no Sunday that it will be on this side unless there's a brain cramp or something and the priest puts it backwards, but it's always supposed to be the resurrection side showing. Likewise with, let me put this back. Likewise with the cross, the same thing. So the altar boys, when they come out and they go in procession, it's the resurrection side of the cross. During the weekdays, it's the crucifixion side. Why is that? Because Sunday is the day of resurrection. That's why even during Lent, there's no dark colors during the Lenten period. It's always bright colors on Sunday, but during the weekday, it's dark colors. So this is one particular item in the church, as well as the gospel, that is always flipping around depending on what day it is. You guys can go inside now. So that's one thing about the exopteri, as they're called, or the cherubim, the seraphim, as they stand around and fly about, veil themselves before your unapproachable glory, which is that prayer that's read in the Divine Liturgy. So let's talk a little bit about the vestments, okay? This particular vestment, the cape, as it looks like, is called the philonion. Now, in the early days of the church, we don't really have, well, you can kind of see with the Virgin Mary here, because she has one that's similar to that, and you can see how long it is in the front. In the early days of the church, it was as long in the front as it is in the back. So it used to hang all the way down, like this. Now, the bishop's vestments, as you can see with St. Nectarios over here, you can see how long it is in the front. See, this piece here, hanging down here, is this, right? But you can see how this piece hangs down low. For the bishop's vestments, his thing is, it looks like an altar boy robe, and it's called a sacco, which is kind of like an over-covering that has bells on both sides. It has long looped arms. They still wear everything underneath the same, but it has that over-covering that is as long in the front as it is in the back. This was shortened throughout history because just imagine every time you want to bring your arms out, you got to pull it up and then get your arms out and then put your arms back down, which was also a problem in the Divine Liturgy when the priest would grab the gifts. He'd have to lift up all this material. Now, deacons, you notice how deacons have the belt that kind of goes over, and during the Lord's Prayer, every time, what do you see what the deacon do? He's like doing a move and putting the belt, and he tightens it and he crosses it in the front. The reason for that is because the belt gets in the way when the deacon is grabbing communion. So he doesn't want to spill communion with that belt hanging over. So it's changed and it's tightened up so that it holds the vestments tight so that it's not flopping around and it doesn't create a problem. But really the cape, or the philonion as it's called, represents the angel's wings. So the priest is clothed with righteousness. That's what the prayer is. Your priest shall clothe themselves with righteousness, and your saints shall rejoice always. And that's what the prayer is while it's put on. Now, if you look kind of underneath, there's a couple things. There's this, which is called the stole, or epitrachilion, it's called in Greek, which a priest has to have this on in order to do the service. And the prayer that's read for this is that the priest is anointed like Aaron with oil that ran down his head and all the way down to the hem of his garment. And that's the prayer that's said when this is put on. This is the main item of the priest. There's no sacrament that's done without this item. There is no prayer blessing that the priest would do as far as, in the church context as far as the service without this being on. Now, it might vary what's on underneath. The priest might have a black robe and then have this on over, or the priest might have this particular item, which is called the stikadion, which represents a wedding dress, that the priest is clothed with the garment of righteousness. So the priest is married to God in a specific way through ordination, and he wears this to not only cover up the underneath, but also as a wedding dress. Many times this is pure white. Sometimes it's gold, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's other colors, but it kind of depends on how it matches with the set. The belt that is put on says, as the priest puts this on, he says, "Blessed is God who girds me with strength and makes my ways blameless." So it's a belt, and it kind of holds everything together so it doesn't flop around, but it's also the reminder that God is the one who wraps us in and holds us and gives us strength. The cuffs that are read, it says, your right hand is these are put on, these prayers are always said. Your right hand, O Lord, is glorious in strength. Your right hand has crushed the enemy. In the fullness of your glory, you have shattered the adversaries. That's the prayer that's read when this one's put on. And then this one is put on, it says, your hands have made me and fashioned me. Grant me understanding, and I shall learn from your commandments. That's what this one is done. Now, this, the epigonation that's put on, sometimes it's just matches, sometimes it has icons, sometimes it has other things on there, writings, represents a sword. This particular item, as well as the cross, they're called officia, which means you have to kind of, in the ranks of priesthood, there's the presbyter, then there's other ranks in between, and as you go up the ranks, you are given these items to wear. That's why when you see a new priest who's newly ordained, he doesn't wear a cross and he doesn't have the epigonation. This, like I said, represents the sword, and then as the cross is put on, it says, too, that anyone who wishes to follow me, let them first deny themselves, take up their cross, and come after me. Now, there's one thing, you can get this is kind of the first thing, and then this is the second thing. You can get them both at the same time when you're elevated to the new title, or you can just get one. So there's an ikonomos that might have just this, and there's a stavrophoros ikonomos, which means the cross-bearing economist, if you want to call it that. Ikonomos really is a translation for steward, like a higher the steward of a community for many years. It's usually honorary. It's given for service and time, and usually particular achievements in ministry. Any questions so far? No questions? That's my line, right? I'm supposed to say bless you. Sacred vessels and veils. Okay, so we got an issue here with the. Do we have a prosophoto? What time is it, anyways? Let's see. 10:43. You're still good. The vessels and veils. They're going to bring out a prosophoto bread, so I can explain it a little bit. But the vessels in the back that we carry around the church is really when it comes around the church, it is the bread, and it's inside the chalice is the wine, and those items become the body and blood of Christ through, this is probably going to be too small nobody's going to be able to see this, but this is a mini size. This is a prosophoto bread. It has on it a seal. Not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, which is the 7th of February, during the Orthodoxy 101 class, I'm going to show how this is cut and all the pieces and what the prayers are that are read, so that you can understand the prosophoto bread. But just know that when this is cut and prepared, it's placed on that disc, and it comes around, and then inside the chalice is the wine. The skevophylakion, as it's called, you can take that in the back, is really a place where they used to hide the important things of the church. So it was, in the early days of the church, a lot of things would disappear, be looted, be desecrated. So really when we say the doors, wisdom, let us be attentive, when we say that every Sunday, recall, anybody? Bueller? No. See, I demographic myself right into that. When we say the doors, it's the doors were closed so that no one would come in at that point. They were locked so that there would be, when the gifts came out, there would be no chance of desecration, there would be no chance of somebody coming in. And many times, the items that were in the altar were in a completely separate area that was locked. That's why we have those entrances. If you think about it, logistically, I take the altar, the gospel off the altar, I walk out this door, I come out here, and I go back in and I put it back on. What's the point of that? It's an entrance, but why do I take it off and put it back on? Well, in the early days of the church, it was somewhere else. So they would go to where it was. Maybe it was over here in a locked thing. They would do the entrance, they come in, and then they place it on the altar table. The same thing with the gifts. The chalice and the disc, they were in a completely different place. They were brought in and they were placed onto the altar table. So part of that was, there was things called stational liturgies where they used to stop in certain areas and go, but they also used to keep everything separate. Now it's all kind of contained within the church. But that's one of the reasons for the entrances too, is that it used to come from different places and there was a lot more movement in the church than what we typically see today. So what am I missing as far as explaining things? Is this pretty good? Okay, good. Okay. I'm going to transition into my next thing because you know how hard I work to get books, right? And let me get my book off. I hope that doesn't roll off. I've been speaking about getting these books for a while. And then we ran out, and I got 4 of them, and thank God Terry, when she ordered them, ordered a bunch. Shifting gears. A lot of times, people will ask me, they'll say, where does it say in the Bible about this? Or how do I really learn how to be mentored in a Christian way? So we look in the Bible, we look for answers, right? When you get stumped on something, you say, I'm going to pop the Bible open and try and find an answer. And many times you can. Sometimes you have specific questions or things, and you have to be careful with the Bible that you don't read it out of context, too. Sometimes people, as we'll see in other religions, will take the Bible and manipulate it to prove one particular point and pick and choose what they want. Well, that's where this, and I've been talking about Elder Paisios now for a long time. These books we just got in, there's 3 volumes. Okay? The first is With Pain and Love for Contemporary Man, Spiritual Awakening and Spiritual Struggle. Now, what I wanted to do was just explain to you how these books are written and how helpful they would be for you to have in your home. Okay, so I'm just going to pop open here. Let's go here. This is just what I was talking about. Now, in this book, it's a dialogue between a nun and Elder Paisios. Elder Paisios was in charge of these nuns, and he was spiritually tending to their needs. These were written down works because they knew that he was going to be a saint, or is going to be a saint, and they wrote down everything that they heard. Every dialogue, everything was video or audio taped, and then it was transcribed. So one of the things in here, it says, in other words, Yeronda. Yeronda is a word that speaks, it's like saying father or elder, or my, Yeronda is the aged elder. So anytime it says Yeronda in here, it's just it's a polite and respectful way to address a spiritual father who is the director of the person. So the nun asks here. Now this is I just popped it open, okay? In other words, Yeronda, lack of humility and lack of devotion lead people to misinterpret the gospel. That's the question. And then he says, that's right. When humility is missing, the interpretations we are likely to give are the product of logical reasoning alone, and they lack divine enlightenment. And then she goes on. When we do not understand something, should we leave it for later? And then she has another question. Can we understand something at a deeper level when we have a better spiritual state? All these questions, like little questions that you might have, and just saying, well, how do I understand humility? How do I understand anything? This book is riddled with different things in here. How can the youth come to know Christ? What must we do to help them? What will become of so many children who will grow up today without discipline? So these books are full of those dialogues. Now, the reason I'm pushing these books is not because I'm getting a kickback on them. I don't even print these. I have nothing to do with getting any money. We don't make really any money when we sell these because it's a trade-off. By the time we get done with the shipping, because we get these from Greece, we don't make anything. But why did I say buy $1,000 worth of books here to the bookstore? Is because these will help you, guaranteed. Short little bite-sized things with questions and things that really would interest you, and it's written in a way that it gives you tools to defend the faith. It gives you understanding when you might have confusion, and also gives you the insight of what we're supposed to be doing in our life. Okay, so these are in 3 volumes. You're going to ask me which volume should I get? I think you should get all 3 volumes, but start with 1, or if you're eager today, buy all 3. I have all 3. They're $30 each. If you think about how much money you spend at Starbucks and how much money you spend on your cable bill, that's not a lot. This is the other book, which is really good. This book is broken into 2 parts. This book is $40. The first part talks about his life, and the second part talks about his sayings and his miracles and different things. So it's really 2 sections. The first part is the biography. The second part is really his works and his writings. These books do not overlap. So if you buy this one, it doesn't obsolete that one or vice versa. They're all different things. This one was written as a collection of his life. These do not speak about his life at all. They just speak about what he said in council. So these are really kind of, if you think about it and you say, gee, I wonder what Father hears in confession and what are the questions that are being asked. Well, here, these books give you an insight of a nun speaking to a priest about what her struggles are. And by the end of reading these, you really get an idea of what the nun is going through and how she feels about certain things and really how she's redirected. So I brought them up here because if you have any questions about them or if you'd like to purchase them, we'll have one of the altar boys out here to roll this down to the back. And then you can purchase a book if you'd like it. I recommend them. You know how I am about books. It's not about deep theology. It's about theology that's edible, digestible, and practical. So check out these books and just know that they're on my top list. If my office were to burn down, okay, if somebody lit a match in my office, I would grab these books and my Bible with all my notes in it. And that would be the first thing I would grab. Yes? Oh, yeah. Well, it has been said that some of his books put off an aroma of incense when they're read. Which one is it? It isn't one in particular. It's his writings are very... just give it a chance. Just read some of this, and I guarantee it will change your perspective on a lot of things. And really kind of embrace you and guide you and lead you in a direction that's a beautiful direction. These were not in print several years ago. In fact, all the volumes are not in print in English right now. There's still 2 more volumes. There's 5 volumes. There's only 3 that are translated into English. They're extremely difficult to find. You cannot find them on Amazon. In fact, if you find them on Amazon, I think they're like $125 to get them from a used bookstore or whatever. So this is what we have, and I hope that you're interested in reading, and really the questions that are there are going to lead you from one thing to the next to guide you. So with that being said, we'll have one of the altar boys take it down, and the parish council or the ushers can come forward to collect your offerings today. And we should be good on time.
Ai poi paesis benim staeseos, ge ai poi thainai ton exafnikon, ge panolethron. Ida menoiti dinaisem painda oisam thelis kevulesem. Despinai tu cosmul elbis gebrol staesiaiton biston charitomenie paikuson ton parai kalundon sem
Okay, a couple of announcements that we have. This Wednesday is the feast day of the three hierarchs. We will have Divine Liturgy, Orthros and Divine Liturgy at 8:30 and 9:30, and also Saturday is the presentation of our Lord, not Outlord, to the temple, and we will have the Divine Liturgy at 8:30 and 9:30 that day as well. A couple other things to keep on your radar is that Godparent Brunch is Sunday, February 17th, and there's flyers that are available in the back. Also, next Sunday is our Tackle Hunger Sunday, where we're asking you to bring in canned goods or any kind of non-perishable food or monetary donations made out to the church. Those items will go towards Hesed House, to their needy families there. So we'll be collecting just next Sunday. So if you can remember that, put it on your calendars to bring some food for that as well. And the choir, we went from a full choir to absolutely nobody in the loft or in church, right? They disappeared because they have their coffee hour today. So it's the choir membership drive today. We're always looking for people to join the choir, to be in there. It helps if you can sing. It's not necessary, but you can be worked with, and we hope that you're able to join and to embellish the choir with more voices as the years go on. And also another reminder, too, is that our fun nights, because many children have different events on the weekdays on Thursday, and Thursday seemed to be a good day for many years for our youth programs, but for some reason the schedules of the schools have changed, and it becomes difficult for people to attend on Thursday evenings. So we moved the fun nights to Friday evenings. So it will still be the same schedule. There'll still be dinner at 5:30. All the programs of the church will start at 6:30, but we hope that this effort, I know some people were complaining, if you had it on a different night, I'd be able to come. Well, it's on a different night, so now you got to hold up your end of the bargain too. So hopefully that will work in people's schedules where we're not pushed to finish homework or those types of things. We will, like I said, we have dinner that's no cost for you to come to those events and to participate in them, and we hope that you're able to do so as the time goes on. And then as we approach the Lenten season, we have the salutation services on Fridays and different things on Fridays. We will adjust the timing of those services to coincide or to work together with the fun night. So hopefully you're able to do that, and that starts on February 8th. So that's the second Friday of the month. It seems like it's the first Friday, or because that would have been the first Thursday, but it's actually the second Friday of the month. So 7th and 8th of next week will be the Bible study and the Orthodoxy 101 class, as well as on Friday, the fun night. So I hope that you're able to join and to participate in those. And as you leave today, 2 of the parish council members will be in the back with stewardship cards. I know sometimes stewardship, we have our cards at home or we forget or whatever. If you don't have it or you forgot to do it, just grab another one. You can fill it out and give it to, put it in the envelope, seal the envelope, and then give it back to one of the parish council members to put in the office for Karen to register your stewardship for 2013. Thank you all thank all of you for those who have given their stewardship in already, and if you have an outstanding balance from last year, we also ask that you submit that in so that we can close out our 2012 year and move on with 2013. I pray that you have a blessed day this day and always, and welcome to St. Athanasius Church. And to the group that came, are they still here? Where's the group? Back there. 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Where are you from again? I forgot. New England. In New England? No, just kidding. Well, welcome, and I hope you enjoyed the service today. You got a little bit of a background on some of the things in the liturgical items, and we pray that you enjoyed your stay here today and that you found it prayerful and spiritually edifying for you. So thank you for coming.